All right, hi. We are here at the Paranormal Expo, and we are with Andrea Perron. Perron.
Either
Perron.
way, I've been
Okay.
called worse. But
All right, so we wanted to talk to you about. So she has actually lived and grew up in the house that the Conjuring movie was based on. She wrote her own book. And they used some of that. Will you
3
tell
books.
us 3 books? She wrote
Oh, wow.
multiple books. So please tell us about growing up in the house and the books you wrote.
in 2014, I published the third of the books, House of Darkness, House of Light.
That's what I've
Oh,
heard.
yeah.
Which chronicles the entire 10 plus years of us finding the farm, moving to the farm, extricating ourselves from the farm, and then moving away, and how it changed our whole family, the whole dynamic, and spiritually how it fundamentally altered all of us in different ways. It was, I mean, even my mother, who went through hell in that house, will say now it was the best 10 years of her life. She learned everything she needed to know about life and death and the afterlife, and that there is an afterlife.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
That's like the most important thing and it's the thing that keeps people up at night. It's the thing that people question in the wee hours when they're afraid, because people are afraid to die. They're afraid of the unknown.
Right.
And I've seen with my own eyes, sensed with every perception that I have, spirit that was so profoundly attached to us that they just didn't want to leave.
I have a question on that. Do you think the spirit was there, or did you bring it there?
No, it was
Okay,
there.
okay.
Because none of us had any experiences
Okay.
like that until the day we moved into the farm.
Interesting.
That's when it started.
When you walked in,
But
did you
it never
know?
ended.
Never-
It never ended. When we left, we thought we were leaving them behind, and nothing could have been further from
That
the
gave me
truth.
goosebumps down the left side of my neck here.
I mean, once you're touched by spirit,
Yeah.
that's it. You're
Did you
touched.
know when you got there that it was there when you got there?
No, we had no
Okay.
idea, absolutely no idea. I was not on the radar at all. My mother, being a student of history, was thrilled to be buying one of the original colonial homes in America.
Yeah.
You know, the land was
What year was
deeded in
that?
1680. The house was completed in 1736.
Oh, wow.
40 years before the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
You know, it was really an amazing home with an amazing history. And that's what she was excited about. Nobody was thinking haunted house. Absolutely not.
Just beautiful, historic.
Beautiful. 200 acres, gorgeous house,
200
gorgeous
acres, wow.
barn. You know, like paradise. Absolutely gorgeous, and a great place to raise kids. You know.
Yeah.
She had no clue what was coming. None of us did.
Right.
And you said, how soon was it after you guys moved in that you all actually seen
5
something?
minutes.
5 minutes.
What was the first thing for you?
First thing for me. I was the first.
And what did you see?
A full body apparition that looked so real that I said good morning to him as I walked past him.
Okay. You just thought it was somebody in the house.
Yep, thought it was somebody
Maybe
in the
something
house
with real
coming to help.
estate or
Yep, coming
okay,
to help
mover.
Mr. Kenyon.
Wow.
You know, move.
What made you realize that he wasn't an actual living person?
When my sister Nancy walked in the kitchen and said there was a man with Mr. Kenyon, but he just disappeared.
Oh, so you
And I was
still
like,
thought that person
I
was...
thought he was a real man.
Oh, wow.
A real live, living human being. Yes, I did.
That's amazing. And you said that there was water that ran through the property.
Tons.
So that right there generates a lot of energy.
There was also a well, a hand-dug well in the cellar of the house.
Oh, wow.
That
So the
tapped
water...
into one of the springs that came down out of the hills. And they tried to measure it. It was too deep to measure. And who digs a well so deep that you can't reach the bottom?
Right.
Yeah, how the hell did they
How
get
did
out
they
of there?
do it? I know. That was actually one of the scariest things for my sister Cindy and for me. I always had a feeling of vertigo and weirdness around that well. I mean, it was the kind of thing, it was about that big around, and if you fell in it, that was it. It was goodbye.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, there would be no way to get out unless somebody saw you fall in and immediately put ropes down to catch you.
Wow.
It was a very dangerous thing. It was covered with a very large piece of granite. And there was always activity around it, always. I mean, you could literally
Around the well?
feel, you
Okay.
could, if you stood anywhere near the well, you could feel the ground vibrating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, also the movie was kind of based around the spirit Bathsheba.
Yeah,
Providing that that spirit was the bad one that was attacking your mother.
Yeah, no, it wasn't true. And she got a raw deal on bad rap. And that was because Mrs. Warren sensed her presence, but then she blamed everything on her, and she wasn't the one that was haunting my mother.
Okay. And she's talking about Lorraine Warren, the most widely known demonologist.
Her and her husband,
Ed.
And yeah,
And so they came. How many times did they come to the house?
about 5 times, maybe 6.
Okay.
I think they came 6 times because after the seance that went so badly wrong
Yes.
that almost cost my mom her life, they came back a couple of months later, and I think they came back just to see if she was alive because they didn't know if she was when they left the house.
Okay.
So how long of a time span would they spend each time they came?
A few hours.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Okay, because it seemed like in the movie it portrayed that they were there
Yeah.
for many days at a time. Like showed Ed
it's
working on
all
the truck.
in the script. Yeah.
Yeah.
My
For
father
Hollywood.
was never that nice to either one of them for 1 minute.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't like him there, huh?
No,
What was he? What would he say?
He just felt that they were, coming to exploit our family.
Oh, okay.
And, in my heart, I don't think that that was the case. I think they really were concerned, especially for us, the kids.
Yeah.
But my father didn't trust them, and he didn't buy into what they were doing, and he was king of denial. He didn't want to even discuss it, let alone investigate it.
Wow.
He didn't believe it existed. He thought that it was. I mean, it took him a couple of years to really come around. It took to the point where there was a spirit that really was attracted to him, and she would come up to him in the cellar. First of all, she'd break something in the cellar. Nothing
get him
ever
to go
broke,
down there?
to get him to go down. And then she'd come up behind him and she would do this.
Rub against the back of him.
Yeah, or down his spine. Yeah.
Wow.
And I thought it was an interesting dynamic that the spirit that was making my mother miserable was the one my father befriended.
Oh, so it was more of a jealousy thing that she was attacking your mom. Wow.
Oh, interesting. So did anything happen, did you have heightened abilities before or was it after? It was after?
If I did, I didn't know about it.
Okay.
It wasn't until we moved into the house and all of a sudden I was able to see into the 4th dimension, as all of us were.
Wow, okay.
I mean, when you're bombarded with spirit activity, even if you don't see it, you sense it. But I was able to see it immediately. I mean, to the point where most of the spirits in the house would appear as full, complete living beings to me.
From my experience, when I was having things happen, I shut it completely out. Like things stopped for me for many, many years. And it hasn't been until recently that it's all been flooding back.
And it's because you gave up the fear.
Right. I'm not scared of it anymore.
And you shouldn't be, because there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah. Now I feel like the things that scared me as a kid that would make me run away, I would now like.
Now you're attracted to it.
What else can you do?
curious.
Do this.
I hear you. I know, and it is fascinating.
It is.
And I mean, we might never know the mysteries of life, and maybe we're not supposed to.
Okay.
But I think that spirit makes itself known to some of us so that we will acknowledge them.
Yeah.
And when we have intense experiences, that we will share that. What's happening now at this point in human evolution, in our spiritual evolution, is that we're transcending our 3-dimensional 5-sensory realm. We're stepping into the 4th dimension.
Okay.
Many more people are sensing and feeling spirit. And then we will transcend that into the 5th dimension.
Wow.
And beyond. This is part of the paradigm shift that's occurring planet-wide.
Okay.
And it's coming to a head now. The end of the age, the Piscean age, and the beginning of the age of Aquarius is considered the new age of enlightenment, has been prophesied for millennia.
Okay.
Interesting.
And
I
so
will look
we're
more into
here.
that.
We're here. And check into the Mayan calendar. Remember in 2012, everybody said, it's the
Yes.
end of the world, it's the end of the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, we all remember
It
that.
was the end of the world. It was the end of the Piscean age, and the Mayans calculated their calendar to the end of that age. And then they said it's the end of the world as we know it.
Okay.
And now we're into the next cycle, which is why all of us are here and why we gather the way we do, and how we're all attracted to each other and to these events and being able to communicate like this, because there's going to be, as this enlightenment continues, a lot of people who are going to seek people like us out. And so that's why I say yes to every interview. Yes, yes. What can I do? How can I help? Where can I lead you? You know, and I don't have all the answers. Nobody in this field does. There's no such thing as an expert in the paranormal. Zero.
It drives me nuts when I see that on.
I know. It's like, are you kidding me? If my family doesn't have all the answers, nobody on this planet does.
Where do you go get a title like that? Like, who do you have to pay?
Pluck that out of thin air, you know? No, there are no experts, nor should there be. You know,
Question when it comes to the movie. It was a big part of the movie, that clapping game.
Yeah, no.
That was just added in. It was
no,
another...
but they stole that out of, well, they didn't steal it. I don't mean to put it that way. I gave them permission to tell the truth, and they were afraid to tell the truth. Warner Brothers made them send the script back 7 times and say, tone this down. Because
it's too much.
will
It's
run
too much.
people right out, yeah.
It's too scary. Wow.
But the clapping, I had written a little bit in the book about us playing hide and seek in the house. My mom didn't engage with that. She was busy setting up a new house, which was 300 or 250 years old. Sorry, my voice is like shot. But we learned very quickly that it wasn't safe to play hide and seek in that house. It was a whole lot safer to get on a sled and ride it down a hill and crash into a stone wall than it was to play hide and seek in that house.
Oh my God.
What was it that scared you the most?
I didn't have an issue with it because I didn't play hide and seek with my sisters. But I did bail them out of some situations. Nancy got crushed in behind the chimney of the boarding room and was as literally attacked and pushed into the corner behind the chimney, and she couldn't breathe.
Oh my goodness.
And she started screaming and screaming, but she was so far away nobody could hear her. But Cindy heard her psychically and went running and found her and pulled her out. And she said the smell of death and the cold, she thought she was going to die. And she was only, if I was 12, Nancy was 10. And she was a little peanut. I mean, she still is. She's a tiny, tiny little person. She's like the size of my left thigh. Don't explain that. I can't explain the genetics. And Cindy had to go bail her out of that, and I had to bail the girls out from, you know, different experiences. And my mother at one point said, "That's it. No more hide and seek in the house. That's it. No more."
Wow. So if they would have showed some stuff like that on the movie, that would definitely been way too scary.
I wrote
so
it
you
into
were
the screen.
So you were 12 when you guys moved in?
Yes.
And
I was
then
21
you were in your
when we
12th.
moved out.
Okay. Damn, that's a long time to be living like that.
I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah,
Wow.
because the movie makes it look like months.
10 minutes, not 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, so grateful you guys all came out alive, it almost seems like.
Yeah, well, you know, and in that respect, The Conjuring got it right. I mean, big picture, broad stroke, Conjuring got it right. Good conquers
Kind of
evil,
in a nutshell.
love conquers fear.
Yeah.
The Perron family endured an extreme haunting that they all survived.
But nobody flipped upside down in a chair.
Nobody flipped upside down in a chair. My sister didn't get dragged across the room and we had to cut her hair, you know, nothing like that.
Yeah.
There were some tugs from the bottom of beds.
Wow. On
James Wan
sheets.
included that, yeah, and sensing things that you couldn't always see, and you know, some elements of the film were actually true or augmented slightly from what I wrote in the books.
Okay.
But if you really want to know what happened in that house, make the investment of time to read the 1,500 pages that I wrote
Hey,
over
that's a big
7
book.
years. Well, it covers all 3 volumes. And I devoted myself to the exclusion of all else to tell this story and to tell it to the very best of my ability.
Yeah.
But not for it just to be another series of scary stories, but to explore the who, what, when, where, why, how. Almost a journalistic approach in one respect, but also a very deeply spiritual and loving approach. Because the fact is that our story is a love story with a supernatural twist. You know, it was love that saved our family and pulled us all together and got us through some of the most extreme things I've ever heard about that a family has endured. in a situation.
Yeah, I've
like
never
that.
heard of anything that
Yeah.
And I heard some of
It
your
was
stories too on another
amazing.
podcast. I think it was Real Ghost Stories Online. Was that
Oh
the
yeah,
podcast?
yeah.
That was a
Is
great
that
podcast.
Patrick Keller, I think.
Oh, guys, I can't remember their names. I feel
Yeah,
bad.
no, I do thousands of interviews, literally thousands of interviews.
And we're
but I think
so
that was
thankful
him.
you came to ours,
No, he
so
was
thank
big.
you.
He was big seance. But
Oh yeah, big sense, yeah.
And I always say yes because I figure, if somebody's interested enough to really want to know the truth, the very least I can do is provide it.
Yeah.
So what do you see on the other side sometimes? Are you able to channel certain people?
I don't channel.
Okay.
I don't allow it.
Oh, okay.
My mind is complicated enough.
Yeah,
I've
it
seen
makes
enough.
sense.
I've got enough going on in there. I don't allow channeling.
That makes sense.
But I am, in some respects, a conduit.
Okay.
Stuff comes through me, and then I'm able, for some reason, to help heal people's pain. And so I'm grateful for that. If it's a gift, then I give it freely to the world.
That's how it
I
should
don't
be.
charge for anything. If it happens, it happens, and I sell my books only because I have to. But
It's a story people want to read. I mean, it's a great story.
yeah, it really is a
I
fascinating
think I'll be
story.
buying it. I'll be buying
Yeah.
that book.
Well, when you read the trilogy, it starts chronologically before we move to the farm. But from the moment we step onto that farm in Volume 1 until the moment we leave 10 years later in Volume 3, it doesn't follow necessarily chronologically. I wanted my reader to have that same sense of timelessness and mysticism
Ooh, I like that.
we did, because it could be 1976 in one moment and it could be 1826 in the next moment. And so I wrote it in terms of, I broke it down into the types of hauntings. So for instance, there could be one story about my sister Cindy, and she's 8, and the very next story, Cindy's 14. And anybody who's a purely linear thinker will be like, whoa, 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 I just lost 6 years. No, you didn't.
Don't worry,
No.
it'll fill
What's
it in.
the correlation between those two stories?
very
Why are
interesting.
these two stories side by side? Think about that.
Yeah.
It's interactive
Oh,
literature.
okay. I like when you
And
did
it
that.
will open your mind and touch your heart in ways that nothing else will. In Volume 3, will rip your heart out of its body, out of your body, and hand it back to you healed, and you won't know how that happened.
Wow, I'm excited.
Yeah, no, that's pretty interesting.
I had help. Believe me,
That-
I had help.
I was gonna say that-
They
that's-
helped me.
Because it's hard to remember all that stuff. Because I don't know, for my part, when the scary things would happen to me, I tried blocking that out.
Oh
And
no, it was the opposite for us.
I
It was
can
like
remember-
seared in mind for us.
I'm sure.
I mean, I interviewed every single member of my family for countless hours to make sure that it was absolutely authentic. And at first I thought, oh God, Cindy's going to remember it differently than Nancy did, and blah, blah. I really did. I thought that was going to be my big obstacle. It was not. I had to change one thing in 1,500 pages.
And everybody else remembered it just like you did.
Exactly.
That's perfect.
Exactly.
Good. It almost seems like you're almost the spokeswoman for your family. Do you kind of feel like that too?
I guess in a way I kind
Okay.
of, as the author, the one that took it upon myself to do this. But they're all willing to talk about it.
Okay.
Anybody is. It's just they kind of go on pretending they have normal lives even though they're paranormal. And I use that word, like being paranormal,
So did any of your other sisters pick up any abilities after living
Yes,
in the house?
all.
Because I kind of feel like
Everyone did.
Oh, every single
Everyone.
one. Okay. Because I
And
remember
my
you said the
father
other
too,
one.
and my mother.
I
Well, my
almost
mother
feel
brought her
like-
gifts.
I almost
Okay.
feel like when things like that happen, it releases the abilities that most people have that they keep harnessed in that they don't know they have.
Yeah.
But when something like that happens, it almost opens them up and things just start happening.
So you said your mother brought her gift to the
Yeah,
home already?
my mom, she didn't think of herself as gifted, but she's, a very sensitive, empathic person. And
Okay.
It wasn't until we lived at the farm that she realized that she remembered that when she was 6 years old, she had been crawling through what was a sugar cane field that had been plowed, that her dad had plowed to plant sugar cane on their farm in Georgia. She grew up in South Georgia. And she was kind of down in a little ditch, and she peeked up over to see what her father had done, and she saw a whole entire Indian village and everybody was, I mean, they were just right there.
Wow.
For the whole village, and she was just a little kid. And I think it's fascinating that she blocked that and she didn't remember till we lived at the farm.
Wow.
So do you think it was coincidental that she purchased that house?
I don't believe in coincidence.
Okay.
This
That
was
answers
actually-
that.
It was set up that way. Not coincidence, it was
This was
planned.
all cosmic connection.
Goosebumps again. Okay.
Coincidence is a nice word we made up to
Okay.
explain away the otherwise inexplicable things in life.
Wow.
Well, we appreciate your time because we don't want to take
So
up too much
grateful.
more of your time because I know this
will
is
join
over,
you.
the event's over.
Yeah, it is,
it's
and
time
they're
to go.
waiting for me, but I was happy to do it. It's lovely to meet
It's
both
been
of you.
it's a great meeting.
Great time. We investigated last night, and then today we've been all day at the expo, so it's been a pleasure.
A pleasure. You feel that energy? Isn't that great? We'll be together again.
For sure.
Wonderful.
I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you.